Hey everybody, PJ back here with Exotic Car Hacks, and today I was actually going to take you through some of my past cars and what they really meant to me, because you may not actually realize that cars for me, since a very young age, have kept me completely out of drugs, out of issues. I was raised by a single mother, we weren't very rich, and then growing up, I didn't have much. And so, cars have always been something I fixed to, I've always wanted to have in my life. I didn't have the means to buying nice cars or anything until I started working and got older, but it's always been kind of a passion. I'm sure many of you guys watching this have this goal in your head, like a specific car that was your dream car, something that you really want or that you believe is your Grail car, your I'm gonna get a car, this is the car that is gonna be the goal for the next 10 years and so on and so forth. And I had this too when I was a kid. I had a whole bunch of them, right? My first one ever was a 911 Turbo. It was like the thing that I had to have and that I kind of pursued. And no matter what car I bought, I always had that in my head. That was like, once I learn how to make a lot of money, millions of dollars, I'll have my first 911 Turbo. That was kind of my mentality. I was very naive. Obviously, I wasn't very well off, so I didn't understand money at all. And it was such a bizarre thing for me because I didn't realize then that cars weren't just about performance. They weren't just about like how good they looked or how crazy they were, how expensive they were. They were just so much more than that. There was a connection in terms of being a person and what the car meant to you. And so thankfully for me, when I turned 21, I ended up getting my first 911 Turbo, and then by 23, my first Lamborghini. And so there was a lot of opportunity, a lot of cars that changed my whole view on cars. But I want to share some of these with you because you can see here that I have a whole little collection of little die-cast cars, and I've collected these over the years. Some of these are really significant, and I wanted to kind of make you understand kind of why these were and what's so special about them. For example, this is the exact same color and same car. You can see the little 6-speed thing in there. It's pretty cute. This was my first Lamborghini. It was actually a silver Gallardo, just like this one. The only difference was I had yellow brakes. It was a 6-speed. And back then, it was really, really cool because we didn't have Huracans and Performantes and stuff. This was the baby Lambo, and this was the coolest thing out there. What was actually really cool about this car is that I was really afraid of buying it. You see, like, this was my first Lamborghini. I didn't understand how cars work, depreciation worked, or anything. I always had this fear, like, what if I can't afford to make the $2,000 payment? What if something comes up and it just doesn't give me the chance to be in a position to keep it? And so I've always had this fear, and it took me a little bit of time to get over that, to buy this car. But this car completely changed my life because it opened up this entire world of meeting people, getting in new social circles, and just it kind of became the icebreaker to me being so introverted and not being able to kind of go out there and be the harder party, So this was a really big thing for me, and it really helped shape the rest of my entire car arsenal. And so this was a huge eye opener for me. Another car that meant a lot to me. This was actually an Aventador. This is the coupe, the Aventador coupe. But nonetheless, the Aventador was always a Grail car in the sense of we all have always had the Countach, the Diablo, the doors go up car on our wall. And you see, for the biggest time, I've always had a fear of the Aventador as well, because everybody knows that once you're buying a 700K car, even though you're buying it properly using Exotic Car Hacks or not, if it breaks down, it's still quite expensive. And so this was always a big fear. And I held off for a long time to actually buying one of these cars. But yet it was always a car that was kind of in my head on my wall when I really didn't have all the money in the world. And other cars that became kind of a big stepping milestone for me. This was, again, another Lamborghini, my Performante. This is blue Cepheus, but my car was actually blue Glauco, which was really cool because I had the world's first blue Glauco Performante on the road, and I was pretty excited about that because I really loved the color. It was also the first Lamborghini I ever bought brand new, something that was just something I refused to do for a while because I've always conditioned my mind to do what Exotic Car Hacks was, and with this car I proved that Exotic Car Hacks works even on brand new cars. I ended up driving it for free for 7 months, which was pretty cool. So free, in fact, that I immediately bought a Spider, this exact model, a launch model, which had the red seats, the red inserts on the seat, the forged carbon and everything else. And it was a really nice car. It was really, really cool. Then here we have an Aston Vanquish. Now, the Vanquish represents pretty much every single Aston I've owned. I've owned everything from 4 different Vantages all the way up to the Vanquish itself 3 different times. And, truly loved all Astons until the end of this era. They just kind of changed now. They're a very Mercedes-like product. So I'm not as big of a fan, but through my career, I've owned the most modified Vantage. I've owned the most modified Vanquish 2 times. I've owned the most exclusive Vanquish. So I've had a history with Astons and I love them. I can't recommend them enough because when you drive them, people don't look at you as a douche like with a Lamborghini or a Ferrari. And this was my favorite Ferrari of all time, the F12. I just felt like the F12 was just such a FU car, such a great car, and it just made sense. And finally, the last car that holds any significance, the 570S. I thought the 570S was one of the best driver's car that ever came out, and especially under 200 grand. It's just a lot of car for the money. And it was one of these cars I've owned 2 different times. I owned an orange one that was factory. Then I owned a white one that was completely modified. I had the world's most modified 570S aesthetically in its stage. And then after that, many people copied the model. But this was a truly unique car. One of the big things I will tell you is that through all of these cars that I've owned, and I've owned a lot more cars than these. These are the ones that held some kind of significance in my life. But out of all, actually, I'll tell you about this. I forgot to tell you about this Bentley. So this is a Super Sport convertible. And you may not know the story, actually, but the Super Sport convertible is really special to me because this was the car I bought literally a week before I found out that I had cancer. And a lot of people don't know that, right? Like, so what happened is I bought this car and it was incredible. And it was kind of I saw it at a Cars and Coffee event at this dealership. I had to have it. I bought it only to realize a week later I got cancer, and there's a whole other story that came with this car. But this is one of the ways that kind of I made friends with a lot of really cool people in the car business. But anyways, so all of these cars, one of the things that's really powerful about owning a lot of exotic cars is, like I was saying earlier, it's the doors that open. It's the opportunities, the people you meet, the friends you make, the doors that are open, the status that enables you to make business transactions that previously would not be able to. One of the things people don't realize is that money recognizes money, and people love to be part of something. And so when you're part of a culture that is exotic cars, Hondas, whatever it is that you do, you tend to find other people like you. And the benefit of being in the exotic car space is that you meet a lot of people that are successful in their own way. And not everybody in the exotic car space somewhat is involved in the exotic car world. Some are physicians, some are business owners, some are entrepreneurs, and of course some even have jobs. But the beauty of the exotic car world is that most of them have this one thing that they all have in common. They're all determined, they're all driven, and they're all not making excuses for getting the things they want in life. And it's incredible to be surrounded by people like that. And so, I know a lot of younger people on YouTube watch my videos, talk about reviews. Many of you are in a position to own some of these cars, many of you are not. But the importance in being in this environment and seeing these things is not just to get excited about the cars, it's about getting excited about who you're going to become once you're in a position to get one of these cars. This is why Exotic Car Hacks was so important to me when I founded it, because I was helping people accelerate that process forward, right? And it was so important to me that people realize, just like I did, because when I was here, I told you, when I was at this Lamborghini stage here, I just really was afraid, right, to take that leap. As a matter of fact, I sold the car after 6 months on the fear that maybe something happens and I'm not able to pay for it. And it really, I not only made money, but this is the car that gave birth to Exotic Car Hacks, because I realized that you can actually have exotic cars and not lose money like all of the other cars I was losing money on. So it just made so much sense that it opened this opportunity to open my eyes to the reality that exotic cars do depreciate like most cars, but not all the way to zero. And so there are opportunities that exist in the financial space in the exotic car world that don't exist for normal cars. And then the biggest thing for me was also, what if it breaks down? And you know what's incredible? I've owned probably over 100, like 10 cars by now. And out of all those cars, one was really a problem car. And it was an Aston DB9. It was horrible. It had a couple of issues. And it cost me $2,500 in repair. And that was the only car I've ever owned that had a catastrophic issue. And even that catastrophic issue was $2,500. And so I started, understanding in my life that all of the things we have in our minds, all the fears of, high insurance, high this, high that, I can't do it, I can't do that, typically comes from the knowledge we've acquired, like 10 years ago or that we heard from someone else, it's often not a reality. It's often just a perception that was created by us because of people we've interacted with before. And so I was so proud of establishing Exotic Car Hacks because it opens people's minds to being able to get into this experience of ownership at such an earlier stage, and that's so important. Because if I wouldn't have been in my 20s when I had my Lamborghini, there were so many people I wouldn't have met. I wouldn't have had any of the success I've had, and certainly I wouldn't be here today doing videos for you guys on exotic car ownership, on different exotic cars I own, currently own, have owned, and so on and so forth. And I wouldn't be able to help you level up and get to this next level. So hopefully you found this little history lesson helpful in understanding a little bit more about the background of some of the cars I own and what they meant to me. If I had to pick one of my favorite cars throughout all of these years, one that really meant the most to me, it would probably have to be this exact one when it comes to the car that I've enjoyed the most. The Performante is by far one of my favorite driver's cars. Not the fastest in the world, but tremendously probably one of the best cars. And that color, the blue Laco, is just one of the most beautiful paint colors that I've ever seen in person. Just absolutely striking. I want you to experience this. I want you to be in a position to enjoy these cars and not get attached to them. You don't need to get attached to materialistic things, but it's good to be in a position to have them, and it's a good thing to be in a position to experience them, enjoy them, and leverage them to get to the next level in your life. So if you have ever considered for any reason owning an exotic, own an exotic currently, or have ever wanted to own an exotic, or have a dream of a poster on your wall that you know is going to turn into a reality one day, this is the time right now to make that reality backed by a plan. And a plan on how to get there and what to do to understand the market so you can be prepared to take action and actually get there yourself, so you don't have to look at other people's cars and so on and so forth. And you can do that right now because we are having an actual Black Friday in July sale. Now, most of you know that on Black Friday I discount pricing to Exotic Car Hacks insanely, enabling anyone to join and making it so much more affordable. And I'm doing it twice a year, once in July and then one on actual Black Friday. And right now, just for YouTube, we're having this Black Friday and July sale. And so all you have to do is find the link on this video and find your way into Exotic Car Hacks as a member instead of just a spectator, and actually learn the process necessary based on current data, not based on 10-year-old car data, on how to actually buy, sell, trade exotics to a level where ultimately you're making all these luxuries just your playground rather than your expenditures. So cars can be liabilities, exotic cars don't have to. I want to teach you how. So hopefully, again, I'll see many of you in the community during this Black Friday in July. Click the link on the video and I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.